beat up till she got up under the, beat up literally till she tried to run up under the car.
Wow.
He was reckless with his hands, you know that.
This Diddy situation keeps getting worse and worse because further interposers are speaking up to reveal just how bad he still is. According to his sentry, Diddy is still putting hands on youthful Miami until this veritably day. The sentry stepped out to reveal that Diddy is nowhere close to being a changed person, and he still treats his women poorly. He came with some enough hot substantiation about how Miami is being treated, and here it's absolutely meddled up.
I mean, we wouldn't even get into nonsense like that. You know what I'm saying? It's nonsense.
Which we never believed, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
When I tell you that everybody seems to be out to expose Diddy, I am not joking around because it looks like everybody is coming out to expose him. People have been coming out to expose some of the sneakiest and shadiest effects that he has done in the history. Now here is Diddy really. That shady here, the wild part about all this is that his shady business is not just commodity that is limited to his history because he still hasn't changed. In case you do not catch my drift, you know how Cassie sued Diddy for putting hands on her when they were together? Well, his sentry has now come out to slip the tea about how Diddy is allegedly putting hands on youthful Miami and how she's his rearmost victim. The tea is absolutely crazy, but actually, should it indeed be that surprising? I mean, judging by the insane allegations that Cassie made in her action, it does not feel like Diddy is the type of person to change his guestie. The allegations are just insane and absolutely heartbreaking, and it just does not feel like the type of guestie that someone just aimlessly changes from. In the action, Cassie made a lot of disturbing claims about the horrible situations that Diddy put her through, saying he's a Miss Ventura in her own home after she tried to leave him, frequently punched, demurred, and stumped ons. Ventura performing in bruises, burst lips, black eyes, and bleeds. Forced Ventura to engage in intimate acts with manly subviews while getting off on it and re-photographing the hassle. Demanded that Moss Ventura to carry his arm in her bag just to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is. And introduced Ventura to a life of inordinate alcohol and substance abuse and needed her to land lawless conventions to satisfy his own dependencies. At the time, Cassie was only 19 times old, and Diddy was a completely grown 37-time-old man who principally dragooned a teenager into dating him. And if that was not bad enough, she was also inked to his bad boy record marker, which meant that he'd also held her career over her head. So it was either she was dating him or differently. She had no choice but to give in to his demands, and you all would suppose that the fact that he put so important pressure on her to date him would make him treat her like a precious jewel. Well, veritably wrong, because the nanosecond they started dating, he started treating her so poorly that she still has trauma from it until this veritably day. He'd put hands on her and leave her with bruises each over her face, and also he'd rain her with gifts and flowers, and also shoot her to a hostel to recover and heal. The action also revealed that he did not indeed try to hide this from his people around him, saying, "These beatings were witnessed bimere, COMC staff and workers of Bad Boy Entertainment and Mimota, COM's affiliated businesses." But no, he made her leave her apartment, and he rented her an apartment close to his house, indeed rented an apartment for her in New York. So they could be together indeed when he was in New York. And each more know that it has nothing to do with him loving her or trying to give for her or indeed cover her, because it had everything to do with him wanting control of every single part of her life. Diddy's control over Cassie was so deep that he'd access to her medical records when she did not indeed have access herself. The court document said on multiple occasions, Combs Hadams. Ventura's particular medical records transferred directly to his dispatch address. For case, when Ventura began passing memory loss potentially due to inordinate use and/or head injuries caused by a MIA. Combs's beat as described below. Her memoir results were handed directly to Ma. Now we all know how I said that Cassie tried to leave Diddy on multiple occasions. Well, on one of those occasions, she started a relationship with rapper Sprat QD. It's unclear how serious the relationship was, but that they had only been dating for a couple of weeks at most, so it presumably was not all that serious. Dared to speak up against their shocking and ferocious master. The saddest part about all this is that Cassie did her stylish to leave Diddy on multiple occasions. But like I said, she was inked to his record marker, and he enough much held her entire career in his hands. And every time Cassie tried to leave him and end the relationship, Diddy lost his cool, and he'd hang her to come back to him. He'd indeed go as far as having people who worked in the marker and in the assiduity call Cassie and tell her that she absolutely had to return to Diddy or he'd end her career, and nothing in the assiduity would ever touch her with a six-bottom pole. But that was still not each, because Cassie also revealed how Diddy used to trick her into taking medicines. She revealed that he'd manipulate her into taking medicines, indeed, though she did not want to. She also claimed that he was addicted to pain capsules, and whenever his legal force of pain capsules ran out, he'd force her to help him score further capsules. He was also obsessed with making sure that he'd 100% control over Cassie, and that he made sure that when she wasn't in a hospital recovering from her bruises, she was close to him at all times. Still, Diddy set up out about the relationship and was so jealous and dazed by rage that he tried to take Sprat Cudi out. The court documents said that Mr. Combs told Ms. Ventura that he was going to blow up Sprat Cudi's auto and that he wanted to ensure that Kid Cudi was home with his musketeers when it happened. Around that time, Sprat Cudi's auto exploded in his driveway. The action talked about a couple of times where he put hands on her, like the time they were on their way home after attending a party with Jay's me. Mr. Combs beat him. Ventura constantly in an escalade, including remonstrating and hitting her. He forced her out the vehicle on 5th Avenue in New York City. She was ultimately suitable to hail a hack and get to her apartment in Manhattan. There is also the time that Cassie spoke to someone in the club without Diddy's authorization, and he was furious. It was nothing serious, just a casual discussion in the club, but Diddy was so frenetic that they left the club incontinently. Mr. Combs, Miss Ventura pushing her into a corner of the vehicle and stomping on her face when the auto arrived at Ma. Around that time, Sprat Cudi's auto exploded in his driveway. The action talked about a couple of times where he put hands on her, like the time they were on their way home after attending a party with Jay. Mr. Combs beat him. Ventura constantly in an escalade, including remonstrating and hitting her. He forced her out the vehicle on 5th Avenue in New York City. She was ultimately suitable to hail a hack and get to her apartment in Manhattan. There is also the time that Cassie spoke to someone in the club without Diddy's authorization, and he was furious. It was nothing serious, just a casual discussion in the club. But Diddy was so frenetic that they left the club incontinently. Miss Holmes, Miss Ventura pushing her into a corner of the vehicle and stomping on her face. When the auto arrived at Array, Combs Hearthstone names. Ventura tried to run down, but Mr. Combs followed her and progressed to again protest her in the face. Ventura was bleeding profusely and was steered into Mar Combs's home, where she began to throw up from the smell of an incident. There was also the part where Cassie revealed that Diddy used to force her to sleep with Joker escorts because he got off on it. He'd force her to partake in what he called freak offs that were so extreme and lasted for days, indeed, though it was against her will. The action claimed that Cassie did not want to partake in the foes, but Diddy would give her medicines until her resistance principally dissolved. Mr. Combs always supplied Miss Ventura with riotous quantities of medicines ahead and during the force. Mr. Ventura was given ecstasy, cocaine, ketamine, marijuana, and alcohol in inordinate quantities during foes, which allowed her to separate during these terrible hassles. It came commonplace to get eye fluids in the days after, and foe to recover from the inordinate substances, and indeed when Cassie managed to break it off for good and moved out of the apartments that he would force her to live in, he still set up her new apartment broken, and had her indeed when she prayed and cried. It's just so crooked, and I am glad that she had the courage to come out to expose Diddy, because he merited to be exposed and face what he did to her. As you can anticipate, he did come out to claim that he'd no way happed and Cassie was just trying to abuse him for plutocrat. and all of that. He said he vehemently denies these obnoxious and outrageous allegations. Miss Ventura's demand of 30 million bones, under the trouble of writing a dangerous book about their relationship, was unequivocally rejected as blatant blackmail. Despite withdrawing her original trouble, Miss Ventura has now resorted to filing an action riddled with unwarranted and outrageous falsehoods, aiming to blemish Com's character and seeking a payday. Diddy eventually decided to settle out of court, and Cassie released a statement saying, "I've decided to resolve this matter amicably, on terms that I've some position of control. I want to thank my family and musketeers and attorneys for their unvarying support." Diddy also released a statement where he said, "We've decided to dissolve this matter amicably. I wish Cassie and her family all the stylish love." But she did manage to start a discussion around this, and we started to realize that substantiation of Diddy's bad gesture has been in our faces this entire time. In an old interview, Diddy's former sentry revealed how he used to put hands on his also gal and baby ma, Misa Hilton. We just answered that for you.
We just solved that for you.
Well, Misa was out there. She was messing with the dude from EPMD. That's why I called first beat her ass.
But she wasn't the only one, because his side piece Gina Hewitt also revealed that Diddy treated her poorly, being indicted of treating Kim Porter poorly, because John spoke out about how Diddy treated Kim so poorly to the point where she eventually started fighting back and defending herself. One night when they were at home at Kim's house on 110th Street, he wanted to.
One night when they were at home at Kim's house on 110th Street, he wanted to, put his hands on her in the wrong way. And Kim took one of those corkscrews and ripped his wrist up and hit an artery. And when she did that, he had to rush over to St. Luke's Hospital.
Of course, this made people wonder what was going on with Diddy and youthful Miami. With Diddy being exposed for putting hands on every woman that he has been with, people started wondering if Miami was going through the same thing, or if she was a special woman who was not getting that special treatment. Still, according to Diddy's sentry, the only special treatment Miami is getting is the precious gift that Diddy gives her, after putting hands on her as well. The sentry added that Diddy hits Miami ever so frequently, but she cannot leave because, just like Cassie, Diddy holds her entire career in his hands, especially since he was trying to do this love rebrand. I would not be surprised if she sticks by him intimately because a lot of her checks in his hands. Carisha needs to go ahead and leave Diddy now. Her career cannot go this. And I suppose Carisha is also a victim. I hope Cassie speaking up helps her find her own voice and speak out against Diddy. This situation just gets crazier and crazier every day. But what do you guys suppose about this? Do you guys suppose that youthful Miami is ever gonna get the strength to leave Diddy for good? Or is she going to be platoon Diddy until the end?